I just have to make an admission for 2020. I was the most resistant Zoom person on earth. Like, I have a friend, Bill Gamble. He runs Carefree Marketing for Starwood. And like for years, he's been like, Dave, let's do a Zoom call. You should invest in Zoom. Dave, you do so many of this. You should do Zoom. And I'm like, I cannot multitask when I'm Zooming. So, I literally resisted it. And boom, March came, and I had to figure out how to coordinate and collaborate with my entire team. So what went through your mind, Carlos, being an expert in this space?
What went through my mind? It all depends at what point in the pandemic you look into my brain.
18th.
I had a meeting scheduled the morning, I think it was a Monday morning, was it March 18th, with the Mars Global IT Group, Mars IS. And this was going to be starting at 6 in the morning. I would be in Mount Olive, New Jersey. We had people in Singapore. We had people in Australia. It was going to be literally global, all virtual. They called me Friday and said, with this COVID thing, we got to cancel our global team workshop with you. Sorry, kid, but we have to go make Mars capable to suddenly collaborate globally using virtual means. And I said, I get it. Here was the ironic thing. I had spent 2 years before leaving Mars trying to promote virtual working. Mars's travel expenses were through the roof. Mars sends people all over the world all the time, and it was crazy what we were spending. So we had to
wait. You think it's expensive traveling people around the Earth? How expensive is it to travel to Mars and back?
Depends where you live, I guess. But I'd spent all this time trying to make this happen, and I actually could. Mars IT was the toughest people to sell on this. One pandemic, boom, within weeks, all the barriers that were standing in the way just melted away. Why? Because they had to if the business was going to keep running.
Necessity is the mother of invention. When I was doing work with Nokia back in the late 90s, I had a component in it around virtual team structures. By that time, Nokia had actually grown up a bit and they were global. The conversation around virtual workplace was nascent. I mean, I really had to scramble to find somebody. We started looking at some of the elements that were necessary with co-located teams. In your work, Carlos, I'd love to hear just the framework that you put together for this. What is the meat of how you have put this thing together? How do you collaborate remotely and actually still have the human connection that's so important to generating ideas?
First thing, the technology doesn't solve the problem for you. The technology, all this collaboration software, no matter which platform you're using, Slack, Trello, Teams, doesn't matter. That's not going to stoke collaboration. What you have to do is go a couple of levels deeper and think about what actually gets people to work together. What I discovered through the research I did at Mars was that companies are full of highly motivated, results-driven individuals, right? We hire them as individuals, we pay them, we promote them as individuals because they produce results. Anything that takes them off track of producing results, they're not going to gravitate to. So we tend to see less collaboration in companies than we'd like because people are committed to doing the stuff they signed up to do. So what you have to do is you have to structure the work so that it speaks to that what's called achievement motive of the individuals you've hired. You've got to structure and make it so clear that this work, it should be important to them, important to the business they work for. It has to feel as important to them as any of their individual tasks. Most times, guys, teamwork is talked about in the generic way. Let's be good team players. Yeah, let's all go be a great team. That stuff, that does nothing for stimulating collaboration. It's all about how you structure the work so it feels compelling to achievement-driven individuals. That's the secret. Now, there's a lot underneath that, but that's the key.
So essentially what you're talking about, it has to be meaningful.
It has to be meaningful. Meaningfulness is critical. And it also has to feel connected to me as an individual. It has to be personally meaningful, right?
Personally.
It has to have value for me and be really clear. And so I can connect it to the things that matter to me, my paycheck, my family, even collaborating remotely, right? It's even more important that what draws people to these virtual meetings feels like it matters because Zoom fatigue is real.